All right, now, Mr. Mayor,
We'll do it live.
we are live, in fact.
Okay, so we'll do it live. Well, thank you, Mr. Manager, and we will, at this time, 6 p.m. on Thursday, April 4th, 2024, call to order the Riverside City Council meeting. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Denning?
Here.
Ms. Fry? Here. Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Ms. Lomatch?
Yes.
Mr. Maxfield?
Present.
Mayor Williams?
Here. No absent council members. Mr. Manager, any additions or corrections to the agenda as presented?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion for Ms. Lomatch and a second for Mr. Joseph to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. At this time, if you're able, please rise with us to pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We've all had a chance to review the meeting minutes from our March 14th and our March 21st work session and regular business meetings. So we have a motion for Mr. Denning and a second for Mr. Joseph. All those in favor of approving the minutes as published signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Abstain.
We have an abstention from Ms. Lomatch, and otherwise the motion carries. If there's any citizens with us tonight who wish to bring forward anything for our consideration, whether it's an agenda item or a non-agenda item, we are always accepting citizens' petitions, and those forms are in the back of this room. They can be turned into the clerk of council, who is up here with us. And there have been no public comment on agenda items turned in thus far, have there, Madam Clerk?
There is not.
My assumption was correct, as it often is. We'll move into unfinished business, of which we have a couple ordinances that we will have the second reading, public hearing, and potential adoption of. And Mr. Manager, just very briefly, the first one, 24-0-849.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is the second reading of the supplemental appropriations ordinance. This is the first supplemental for this year. There are no changes to the exhibit. However, I will just call to your attention, we did pass out a handout to each of you that itemizes these in the way that the auditor will expect to see them. The numbers are the same. Again, no changes to the numbers, no changes to the justifications, but just wanted you to know that this is what we will report as part of our regular audit process.
Move to approve.
Second.
So we have a motion for Mr. Denning and a second for Ms. Lomatch. Madam Clerk, would you please read this ordinance by title only?
Ordinance 24-0849. An ordinance to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Riverside, state of Ohio, for the period January 1 through December 31, 2024.
I will now open the public hearing for ordinance 24-0-849 at 6:03 p.m. Anyone who wishes to comment on this ordinance, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing no one come forward and hearing no one, we will close the public hearing for ordinance 24-0-849 at 6:03 p.m. Is there any further discussion from members of council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Denning?
Yes.
Ms. Lomatch?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Maxfield?
Yes.
Mayor Williams?
Yes. And we will now move on to ordinance 24-0-850. And Mr. Manager, this is the TIF district that we've talked about a few times at work session and had a first reading on last time we were together for a business meeting.
Correct. It is a 10-year, 75% TIF district for the Springfield Street corridor.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion for Mr. Denning and a second for Mr. Joseph. Madam Clerk, would you please read this ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 240850, an ordinance declaring improvements to certain real property located in the city of Riverside, Montgomery County, Ohio, to be public purpose, declaring such property to be exempt from real property taxation, designating specific public infrastructure improvements that directly benefit the parcels for which improvements are declared to be a public purpose, establishing a municipal public improvement tax increment equivalent fund, and providing related authorizations pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Sections 5709.40B, 5709.42, 5709.43, 5709.832, and 5709.85.
Is there any further discussion from members of, I'm sorry, I apologize. We need a public hearing, don't we? I will now open the public hearing for ordinance 24-0-850 at 6:05 PM. Anyone who wishes to comment on this ordinance, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Hearing no one and seeing no one come forward, we will close the public hearing for ordinance 24-0-850 at 6:05 PM. Are there any further discussions from members of council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Denning?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Fry?
Yes.
Ms. Lomatch?
Yes.
Mr. Maxfield?
Yes.
Mayor Williams?
Yes. We will move into new business, of which we have 3 resolutions for our consideration. The first one, Resolution 24-R-2928, is what we call then and now. Mr. Manager, would you give a Reader's Digest on the then and now that we have to consider?
Correct. This is, as we've talked about, this is a practice that we're starting this year just to be sure that we're keeping our accounts, our payment processes clean and clear. We'll intend to do these quarterly. This is the first quarterly then and now resolution that we'll bring you. It just makes good on payments that we've either incurred or that we will incur that we need legislative approval for.
Okay.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Denning and a second from Mr. Joseph. Is there any further discussion from members of council? Hearing none, all those in favor of Resolution 24-R-2928 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. The second resolution, the one that's been getting all the attention, we have a Resolution 24-R-2929, and this has to do with the upcoming solar event.
Yes,
And,
the eclipse.
Century R2 Plus solar event that we are in direct path of. And Mr. Manager, could you just talk a little bit about some of the things that are happening in our community that are not necessarily being sponsored by us as a city, but happening near or adjacent to large groups of our population centers, and the steps we're taking to make sure that we can maintain a safe and orderly city throughout?
Absolutely. So I might take just an extra minute here real quick just to give the viewing public some insight into this. The short answer up front is that, or the short story is that the resolution here is council's support for the steps that we're taking to help manage our way through this event. Let me switch the view up here for the viewing public at home. As we've explained and discussed at prior meetings, we are somewhat unique in that our geography is split in half by Eastwood Metro Park and the well fields up here to the north, and then, of course, we have the base as a large component of our southern region. The main reason and rationale for this resolution and this temporary state of emergency is because the base is having a significant event that they're anticipating will draw 20 to 30,000 people. There is also a significant event going on at Eastwood Lake, Eastwood Metro Park that day. For Riverside, what that means is that the only road that runs all the way through town is Harshman Road. It's our one major arterial. It's of some regional importance because there are no other large arterials within close proximity. You'd have to either go to Smithville and kind of wind your way up, and that's a much narrower road, or if you're going east, you'd have to go up North Fairfield to get north-south.
You have to leave the city in either event.
Correct. And so for us, it really creates a bit of a choke point with all these events that are going on. And so we want to be sure that folks are able to come, enjoy these events, and be as safe and healthy and maintained as much good order as possible. So that is the rationale for the emergency declaration that's in front of you today. What we will do to manage our way through that is we'll be taking control of some traffic patterns in and around the base gates in both the mornings and the afternoons to create dedicated lanes for people to go into the base as well as to go out. We may change those traffic patterns depending on what actually evolves throughout the day. Our goal, though, is going to be to push people to the closest highway. So we're going to try to push folks out either to 675, up to 444, or to Route 4, depending on where you are and what time of day you're expecting to leave. It will be a bit of an evolving situation, but what the emergency resolution really lets us do is, again, get out ahead of the traffic control situation. We've already started to block some of the open fields and other places that the city owns, again, in part because we're trying to reduce the likelihood that people will park there and create additional congestion, and to manage to minimize the likelihood that folks will either go and create disturbances, litter, other things that happened in other communities during the prior eclipse as well. So we will have a lot of communication that, we've been doing a lot of communication, and a lot of credit to Ms. Llewellyn for the work that she's been doing. We'll have more that follows this evening and through the weekend. But we will manage this one day at a time as we go through. But I think what we're expecting is a slow ramp up as folks arrive over this weekend, leading up to and through Eclipse Day. And then after the eclipse is over, it remains to be seen, but what we're expecting is a fairly large push of people trying to leave in the hours immediately following the eclipse, and that's really where you'll probably see a lot of crunch time on the roads. So we just encourage folks to be patient, to enjoy themselves and have a good time, but to be safe, responsible, and give each other some grace so that we're all able to enjoy this once-in-a-lifetime event together, unless you plan on being here in 2099.
Zach.
We're looking at you, Zach.
Yeah, Zach will be here.
I'll be 104 years old, so if I
You,
make
oh,
it,
you could totally make
if I
that.
make it that long.
Yes, 104,
You could
the
totally-
the
Well, I
eldest
plan to be
man,
here to haunt all of you.
the oldest man in the world just passed.
Other than the fact
114.
I
that
saw that.
I guess I still can make it for the next one to give them advice on what we're doing today.
Yeah, so
Um,
keep
Keep this
taking
in your
good
back
notes.
pocket.
If
So
you can
questions for
remember.
the city manager.
I just want a point of clarification. What we're doing tonight isn't, we're not creating anything. We're not giving Josh an ability that he didn't previously have under the Ohio Revised Code. Emergency management definitions in the Ohio Revised Code. Josh, being the chief executive of our city, has the ability by the state to declare a state of emergency. What this is, from my understanding, is all 7 of us saying that we
It's
support
okay.
the actions that you will undertake to mitigate the traffic influx that we'll get on
A-
Monday.
And it's not just the Ohio Revised Code. Our charter also states that he has that ability.
I couldn't find that,
So-
but I found it in the Ohio.
It's my
Revised.
understanding.
It's because it's named something different in the charter.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
doesn't state city manager.
It's the public
Public
safety
safety
director,
director.
which is a hat the city manager wears.
Okay.
But to that exact point, and we've explained to some of the media outlets that we've talked to as well, the other rationale behind this is because we are so unique in the region and with these events going on in our backyard and with the influx of population, really the intent here is to be out in front and use this as a communications tool with the public. So again, we want folks to know that these events are happening, they're welcome to come, but we have some unique roadway constraints in this part of the metro that other communities don't have. And so we're just trying to build that awareness, and again, to keep it on people's radar so that they know.
Be proactive.
Be proactive, and if they're coming down here and they're seeing orange snow fence and they're seeing lanes closed, that there's a reason for that. And there are 2 major events that are going to draw tens of thousands of people here in this very narrow geography on that day. And so to just be aware, and again, be patient and give each other some grace and enjoy the show, because hopefully it will be clear at 3 o'clock.
Yes.
You're going to do that too, right?
Well, I got to fire up the weather machine.
Oh, good.
I got to put more diesel in it,
Plug
actually.
it in over the
But
weekend.
I have a weatherman in a group that I'm part of, and he said the models that are going through right now, as of today, it's about 50% cloudy, 50% eclipse. I was going to say sunny, but obviously that's, so we should be in good shape. And that was, and if the little corridor moves up to us, we should be in good shape for a good show.
Cloudy with a chance of eclipse.
there
Yep.
you go.
Everybody go out and go.
Everybody's go for it.
Right. But again, it's just about being proactive and prepared and keeping that message out there, so.
Okay, any other questions for the city manager before we?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion from Ms. Lomatch, second from Mr. Joseph. Any further discussion among members of council?
Who was you, Wayne?
Well, it was a tie.
Hearing none. All those in favor of Resolution 24-R-2929 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. And, Mr. Manager, the final resolution, Resolution 24-R-2930.
This is required resolution from ODOT that we have to have before a resurfacing project can go out to bid. This is the resurfacing project for Spinning Road Phase 2, which is expected to go to bid, I believe, on May the 9th.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Denning and a second from Mr. Joseph. Any further discussion from members of council? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Madam Clerk, have there been any requests from citizens to comment on non-agenda items?
No, none turned in.
None turned in. Well, then we'll go back to the city manager for his report.
So if, with your indulgence, I may give you just a little bit more information on some of the lane closures because, and again, I will say this is tentative, but the tentative traffic plan is as follows. So real briefly, while we're on this map, the current plan, at least as far as we've been in communication with the base, is that they will have the museum gate open, which is the typical gate that you'll use off of Springfield Street. They will also open the Armory Gate, which is around here on Harshman, and the gate down here that dead ends on Spinning. It will look and feel a lot like the Marathon.
Correct.
Having said that, this is like the Marathon here, but also at Eastwood and everywhere else all over the county. So we'll see how the traffic patterns evolve, but just some details on how we're going to manage traffic, tentatively speaking, through that. And my understanding is these maps will also go out following this meeting.
Yes.
So if you are on, this is Spinning Road where it dead ends into that south side of the base. The plan right now is at about 8:30 in the morning, we're going to close the right lane going westbound and use that lane to dedicate traffic to pull it in. You should see at least one volunteer from the museum at each one of these gates, and we will also have officers present. And we'll also have other traffic control signs in and around each of the gates and on other thoroughfares. But again, the idea here is to pull people into the base that way. The gate will open at 9. As far as people leaving at this time, I think we are going to try to keep our plan somewhat flexible down here. I believe the plan is to keep most of the traffic moving out of the museum gate or the Harshman gate. If folks start to come out through the south gate, we will drop some cones and do our level best to push that traffic eastbound over to 675. We're trying to keep people away from the south part of Woodman because the bridge is still under construction, the ramps are still not open. The new ramps, and so there's still limited access if you go farther south on Woodman, and you'll see other traffic signs that advertise that as well.
Are we gonna put some of those electronic boards up that warn people?
Yes. Mhm.
Well, good.
Yep, we'll have those out. So at the Harshman gate, well, actually, just in general, what we'll be doing is up here at our intersection at Harshman and Springfield, in the afternoon, right around 3, so just prior to the eclipse, we were actually going to block traffic so that you will not be able to access Harshman from Springfield Street. And if you are on Harshman, you won't be able to exit to get onto Springfield Street. And the rationale for that is that when traffic leaves the Armory Gate, which is just south of here, we're going to try to push that traffic up to Route 4. We don't want to create a backup where people are trying to get off onto Springfield Street because everybody's going to be leaving the museum gate. So we're going to try to limit access so that everybody goes straight up to Route 4 and then they can get to whatever highway they need to from there. For the museum gate, the general idea is to leave that gate as open and clear and functional as possible. That gate will actually open at 7. So and that's customarily when they open it, and because it's the usual gate, they'll open it at that time. The other gates will open later at 9 o'clock. And I apologize, I got this slightly out of order. This is again on Harshman where the Armory Gate is, just south of our intersection up here. What we'll do is the northbound lanes on Airway, we'll put cones out, and similar to the Spinning Gate, we're going to use the rightmost lane to push people into the base through that gate. And then as they're leaving, we're going to try to push them up to get up to Route 4. And again, we will distribute these. This is the working plan that we've developed in concert with the base and our other partners. I'll just say, though, that like everything else, it's a plan and the best laid plans, right? So we will continue to monitor this situation in real time, react in real time, and pivot where we need to in order to accommodate the reality of whatever traffic flow actually occurs. We will have 2 command posts, so we don't want to be caught up in our own intersection here around Eastwood. We'll have command posts on the north side that'll handle incidents up that way. We'll have command posts on the south side, south of Airway, to handle incidents that occur down here. And so that will provide us some coverage on both sides of town, as well as the ability to respond to mutual aid if we get called in either to the base or to Dayton or Huber, Fairborn, what have you. The only other thing I'll add at this point is that I have got to give a huge shout out to our public safety staff. Chief Miller and his team, I know have been in constant communication with the fire department at the base. I know Chief Robinson and Major Jackson have also been visiting with base staff pretty constantly, and everybody's also been talking to the county emergency management folks, to our neighbors up in Huber Heights and in other communities. Everyone's kind of in the same boat. We're all sort of preparing to give and receive that mutual aid as we need to, and to accommodate and flex depending on what the day throws at us. But we would not be as prepared as we are if they were not having those conversations and doing an excellent job of keeping everybody informed about what we are doing. I also want to give a huge shout out to Kevin Miller and the public service staff. They have been instrumental in helping to put our snow fences out. You'll see them out all day long as well, helping to block intersections, lay cones, try to keep folks safe. It's all hands on deck for us. We're only holding a few staff in reserve in case we need to call them in. And so it will be a huge event. It already has been a huge undertaking, but I'm optimistic about our ability to think ahead and to plan for this. And we will certainly do the best that we can. And I look forward to hopefully everything going as smoothly as possible, especially if folks, again, just maintain that awareness and then try to give each other some patience and space while we all try to enjoy this together. So that's all I have for you this evening.
Okay. Any additional questions for the city manager? Well, thank you, Josh, and I know we all share the thanks of our staff, especially our public safety staff and our public service staff. They're really folks who take a lot of pride in their work, and they have a lot of deep care for this community. And I know many folks in the city share that sentiment towards them, but hearing that they are more than ready for this is no surprise to us, but we're certainly still very grateful for it. So we are going to have an executive session that's on our agenda. So we will go through council member comments and then go into executive session and then reconvene before our adjournment. I just want to make sure folks who might be following along know what we have planned. So we will go to council member comments, and I will begin with Ms. Lomatch.
Yes, I'd just like to reiterate what's been said, but in all of those comments, nobody's thanked the city manager, because this has been heavy on his heart for a long time, to make it right. So I want to thank him because I know you've been living this for 3 months now.
A minute.
Yeah. So, and I hope that the residents will be very patient, will have gotten their gas and their groceries and their dog grooming and all of the things they normally do on a Monday done ahead of time. So plan to stay off the roads if you can.
And Mr. Brown.
No comments. I will second everything that Ms. Lomax said, though.
Mr. Joseph.
Again, Josh, I mean, the ball rolls downhill, and you've been kind of keeping that ball in your hand for a long time with this. I don't envy your position. I'll be at home, like, not wanting to be here.
And we'll enjoy it.
So with that, I appreciate everything that you're doing. Get some sleep, hopefully, a couple of days beforehand. But good luck. I know you'll be fine. We have a good staff. We have the right people in place to handle something like this. So as much as it's going to be tough and a long day for a lot of people, I know we'll be fine. So thank you for everything.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we also, as a city, thank our schools from the all-hands-on-deck perspective that our Mad River local schools are extending spring break by a day to be out Monday. I know St. Helens and Carroll are doing the same things. I'm almost positive the East Dayton Christian is also closed on Monday. And I know that the city manager and the superintendent are in communication and coordinating. And the reason that we have those relationships and those relationships are valuable is that when these events pop up, that we can make sure we lean on each other for the best advice and the best guidance. So when Josh and Chad talked last, I know that was a topic of discussion back in January, I think, about what to do for what was happening in April. and Chad was leaning on Josh for some advice to possibly stay closed for an extra day. And then when we saw that, the folks at Carroll saw that many of the local public districts were going to be out Monday, it made the decision easier for those folks to just not have, especially kids, on the road at 3 o'clock when when there's an eclipse, a total eclipse. So thank you to our partners in our community. And I would also say that I'm glad that we took the lead on many of those things, and that they're being good community neighbors and friends in this situation. So thank you to our schools, especially our superintendent, and thank you for that coordination and relationship. On to Mr. Maxfield.
Obviously, kind of ditto what everybody else has said. Thanks to our, obviously, public service staff, city staff, everybody. I know it's been a lot of work. Josh, thank you. Good job. Good planning. You don't have to wear a suit on Monday.
Oh, I won't.
Feel free to relax.
It's going to be about 65 degrees, 70 degrees. You can wear shorts if you
Oh,
want.
yeah, there you go. No, I'll probably be in jeans with a yellow vest on, riding the Equinox around the city car in case they
You wear
need me somewhere.
hard hat,
so,
too.
Absolutely.
Okay. Good deal. No, but.
You might want a bicycle.
Well, I'll bring that too.
But again, thank you to everybody. I know it's been a lot of work, a lot of behind the scenes work, so we really do appreciate it.
And Ms. Fry.
Nothing for me.
And Mr. Denning.
First, I want to thank Services Department for what I saw when I went home today. The honeysuckle along Harshman and Springfield Street is getting all taken down, and that's wonderful. It's something that's needed done for years, but I think because now we have the correct equipment to be able to do it properly, and they're doing an awesome job getting that taken care of. I also saw that the lights on Beatrice look like they're getting wired up, and so there's some very positive things in the community that are happening in addition to this the big event of the eclipse, and everybody's still making things happen, and things just stop so anyway, thanks everybody, and especially Josh, you're the leader, you make it happen. I know having good staff, but I also know that you hired most of them, so like minds think alike, and I understand that, and I think it's just great that everybody's working together, and that everybody, it's important that the community understands we're not closing the parks to children, we're just closing the parks to vehicles, because we don't want people going in there on Saturday and staying until Monday, and then leaving everything looking like a mess. We got Josh got some information and lessons learned from Nashville and things that happened down there, and so we're trying to be proactive and keep our community, especially as many events that we're in the middle of, from happening here. Thank you.
All right. Do I have a motion to move into exec? Motion from the deputy mayor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Brown. We have a motion and a second to move into executive session for the reason listed on the agenda. Madam Clerk, could you please, we have a motion from Mr. Maxfield and a second from Mr. Brown.
Mr. Maxfield?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Denning?
Yes.
Ms. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Ms. Lomach?
Yes.
Mayor Williams?
Yes, we are in executive at 6:29 PM. We will